Hello, everyone. Welcome to Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick over there on the other side of the comms, of course, just in front in commentary and, of course, gameplay for the sake of your entertainment, because it would just be bored if you just saw a black screen and two guys randomly talking to the void for like half an hour.
Well, the void is very interesting, but not very entertaining.
I don't know. I've seen some people that question if the void is sentient, so I don't know. Staring into it for too
Well,
long might not be helpful.
speaking of voids and space and stuff, let's kind of step towards Warframe for a moment here.
My God, what a transition. But anyways, yeah, no. Going over this weekend digital extremes, or recently at the very least, big leadership actually change up came in. Recently, the big boss of Digital Extremes, the CEO, who, forgive me, I'm going to butcher the name of this guy. So if he ever hears this, I'm sorry, I'm not good with names in some cases, which is terrible considering I try to be good with them. I know what it's like to have your name butchered beyond belief, trust me. But anyways, so James Schmars, Schmaz,
I mean, I heard the name James, and I thought immediately James Earl Jones, and I'm like, no, 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 that's not right. That's not right.
What is
I don't know why, but that is
Darth
the name that
Vader
I thought of.
Yes, indeed, Digital Extremes is founded by Darth Vader, but
Yes,
you are not the investment.
you are not my investor.
You are not my investor. But yeah, no. James Schmelz, forgive me, founder of Digital Extremes and CEO from the company till very recently, has currently stepped down as CEO. Instead, he has put the creative officer. He has been the chief creative officer, a 24 years studio veteran, where he has put the creative. I'm butchering this already. Oy. Really, the first time reading this article, so forgive me. Anyways, so basically, Steve Sinclair, who has basically been the creative director for Warframe since about 2012 until again 2020-ish, 2021-ish, I think somewhere around there, and is now working on Soulframe and has been at the company for 24 years, will now assume the role of CEO, effective immediately, according to the article. So yeah, he's just like, I'm gone. You're reading now. No real transition time. He's just like, you got it. Do it now. This is a good thing. I honestly, Steve's been very loved by the community in Warframe, and his new project Soulframe, that he is again now working purely on. Though he does still have a bit of a hand in Warframe, even if he's not officially working on it anymore, he does kind of, I'm sure, talk to um, Rebecca and the new creative head of Warframe, and still probably does some consulting here and there for the game,
Hmm.
as well as his own game Soulframe, which he and the veteran staff of Warframe kind of moved on to, which is still in development. I'm actually interested in seeing it. I actually have something of a I don't want to say pre-order to it because it's free, so how do you pre-order a free thing? But like, I've signed up to be like one of the first testers for that, and there's the whole thing. So I'm hoping to see where it goes. Looks good from the trails we've seen so far, but again, more importantly, so Steve will be assuming the role. By and large, most people say this is a good thing. However, I have heard some comments to the otherwise. Apparently, he's quite an ambitious person, which, considering he was one of the people that, like, again, he was the creative director of Warframe back in the day, back in 2012. And if you know the story behind Warframe, you know that basically every company from here to Timbuktu said this would never work. And,
We
so,
got there.
I know, spoiler alert, it worked. And the funny story is that every one of those companies is now banging on their door, being like, "Tell us how you did it.
What
Help
did
us
you
do it.
do? Tell me now.
Tell, tell me
Tell
now."
me. Where
Again,
did you go?
it's so funny. I think No Clip actually, the game documentary guys, actually have like a full documentary around Warframe and how it has. They've like interviews with the staff and the head bosses, and I think Steve makes an appearance in there. as well as Rebecca back when she was still community manager. You know, it's a really good documentary. I've seen it. I recommend you guys see it. It goes over Warframe's history, how it came to be. Really good stuff. But anyways,
Hmm.
point being that again, he's loved by the community, so on the surface it seems like a very good idea, and honestly, I think it's not a bad idea that he's assumed a role as the big boss of the company. My kind of real question is why the big boss suddenly decided to just wash his hands and go, I'm done,
I'm
we're
out. I
done, we're good.
leave. Goodbye.
Now, maybe I'm overblowing this because James is maintaining a position on the board of directors, even if he is no longer the CEO. So he is still part of the company. So it's not like he's washing his hands of his own company entirely. He is still a member of its board. Though considering Steve is kind of one of the biggest reasons the company is where it is today,
Hmm.
considering the fame of Warframe has kind of kept the company going for the last decade, maybe decade and a half. No, not decade and a half. Decade at least, something like that.
About.
About, yeah. I mean, not to say that Digital Extremes didn't have a decent portfolio before. They were the guys that made Unreal Tournament, actually, if you remember all the way back there.
Yeah,
But after
actually, yeah,
that,
no, I remember that. Yeah,
mhm.
they made like, wasn't that like back when the Unreal Engine was like first starting
In its
out?
infancy, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
so long ago.
Yeah, it's like
Time does fly.
it's weird how a decade feels nowadays when you're older.
When you're an old
It's like
fuddy-duddy like we
yeah,
are.
like when you're the one on the receiving end, it just feels weird.
It feels weird, honestly, it really does. But yeah, no. So they're the guys who made Unreal Engine, one or two other things back in the day. So it's not like they didn't have a decent portfolio, but they wanted to do this kind of space game. And again, the story goes that they went to companies hoping to get investment for Warframe or Dark Sectors was called back then. Again, long story. And every company basically said the same thing. It will never work because it's a free to play model. And again, this was back in like 2010, 2000 like 9-ish, somewhere around there, when free to plays didn't really exist, nor did the concept really exist in general, right? So every one of them were just like, nah, it'll never work. You can't make the content on the level you want on a free to play model,
Right.
which again didn't really exist back then. So it's not like there was much
There wasn't
uh,
much
to go
incentive.
against.
Yeah, like there wasn't much incentive for any company or business to actually do that because for a
There
good
was no
while it
proven,
wasn't very like profitable.
yeah, it wasn't really a proven formula back then. Shocker, shocker to what happens now. But anyways, but yeah, now that happened, and eventually they're just like, screw it, we'll make it ourselves, and yeah, we have Warframe, and it's a massive success. So, ha ha ha, I guess. But yeah, like I said, it's interesting. Apparently there are people I've heard on the grapevine that say Steve is a very ambitious man. Not surprising, considering he's one of the driving forces behind Warframe's creation, and basically took a real leap of faith with it, as did the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say that might not be a good thing because of how ambitious he is. Maybe that's being too ambitious as a CEO might mean you're willing to try not the best ideas, so we'll see.
We will see. We'll
I like
have
to judge by results. Like I said, he made Warframe a success, so probably make his new project Soulframe a success, which he is still heading despite being the CEO of the studio still, which that'll be interesting. You don't really see any CEOs of big companies doing,
their
game
own.
dev still.
Yeah. For the most part, they kind of just sit back and be like, "All right,
Like
this is
others
what
do
we
it.
need doing." Like,
Yeah, they
get
usually just sit in
doing.
their office. Yeah, they literally just usually sit in their office and enforce deadlines, if nothing else,
Yes.
and give like the green light, maybe, to what gets made and what doesn't. But they really have no real say in how it gets made beyond that. So the fact that he is still being the creative director of Soulframe as well as CEO is don't really see that in the industry that much,
No.
if ever. I certainly can't think of it. Can you imagine if freaking like the creator the boss of like Activision had a hand in the creation of like the COD games?
Oh, that wouldn't go
I don't
over
know.
well.
That might that might go yeah, it might not go over well actually. Ugh, that's a dystopian future, man.
That's a future we don't want.
uh, but yeah, no. So that's the thing. Again, I like to judge by results, but we'll see how this plays out. This is all kind of interesting because I actually just learned recently that apparently back in 2020, Tencent, who has apparently been making a lot of more moves in the game industry recently than before, actually recently bought a good share of DE's parent company, which is called
Stay there.
Diggity. Give me a second here. I have to dig up the name. I do not have that on hand immediately. Liao. Liao Technologies? Leo?
Leo.
Leyoou. How do you pronounce that, you would think?
Leaa.
Ley.
Ley.
OU, yeah.
Liao.
Liao? Yeah, that's how I'm thinking. Liao.
Yeah.
But anyways, Liao Technologies, apparently back in 2020, had a good share, purchased a majority share by Tencent, or had a majority share of their company purchased by Tencent. And for those who don't know, I didn't even know this. Liao is apparently the parent company of Digital Extremes, who apparently bought them a while back as well. But anyways, for their credit, DE said that there would be continuing independent operations despite this fact. But it is interesting to see how Tencent has been kind of making moves in the game industry. I was actually just talking with Justin before the stream, and I recently, I think in the last year or so, Tencent also bought a majority share of the company that made Dying Light,
Mm-hmm.
which is called... I don't remember all these company names, forgive me.
Moving out. Hey.
Techland. Techland, there it is. So it's interesting to see that not Techland, Tencent is making a bunch of acquisitions in the games industry recently. Because this is not the first time, like I said, that we've seen them in the last year or two buy a big company or a share to a big company. I think there's a
Yeah.
few others I can't remember the name of. So, on a side note, does this mean Tencent is planning to have more of a hold on the industry? I don't know.
What happened to
For
you?
those who don't know, Tencent is the massive Chinese holding firm that has basically I don't want to say a stranglehold, but basically a very powerful hand in the mobile space. They are a massive,
Tell me what happened.
like I said, Chinese conglomerate
Big
that
My family and I were
basically has done a lot of mobile gaming and has a hand in a lot of that department. They also apparently have a hand in the Chinese arcade industry, apparently. Like that's, I think, if my memory is right, where they kind of started out. And they've kind of gone from there. But yeah, generally where Tencent goes, I don't want to say greed tends to follow, but suspicion and a great deal of monetization tends to follow. So, wherever Tencent's name gets slapped on, people generally get very suspicious because there have been more than a few cases of Tencent's influence causing a game to become a lot more monetized than it should be, or was before at the very least. Again, much like Sony's acquisition of Bungie and Bungie promising to continuously act independent despite the buyout, it seems DE's acting in a similar fashion, but it's worth kind of keeping an eye on. Nonetheless, I kind of bring that up because, again, with the change in leadership, might come a change in ideals. I honestly doubt that'll change, but it's worth bringing up all the same. What do you think about all this, Justin?
It's pretty interesting. Like, definitely got some ambitions.
Find the control panel in the office to power it back up. Once you're on your way,
What? Steve or Tencent?
All of them. No, like, I don't know. It's weird to think that about it, because like they're clearly making moves and growing and trying to expand what they're doing on that front. So
Well, on both cases, it is weird.
hmm.
After Techland got bought out by um, Tencent,
Right.
a few months after that, an update came through that introduced the concept of Dying Light points, which is basically an in-game currency that allows you to buy the DLCs. So you're not even buying the DLCs directly anymore. You're kind of, well, not the big ones anyway. The cosmetic DLC and blueprints you buy with Dying Light points nowadays. Which is interesting because, like I said, that in-game currency only really got introduced a few months after Tencent took over. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt, because I hear again that there were plans to make this prior to Tencent's any acquisition anyways, so they probably didn't have a hand in it, if this is true. But again, it's an interesting coincidence nonetheless. On the side of DE's change in leadership, it's also interesting because why the CEO suddenly decided to step down and basically put Steve in charge effective immediately, just almost out of the blue, it seems. It doesn't sound like the guy was, there were no murmurs of him choosing to retire. He wasn't like, oh, I'm getting old, maybe I'll make a successor, or yada yada yada.
Is just there.
He just kind of he just kind of was like, I'm done. I'll stay on the board, but as of right now, you're in charge. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Again, it is funny though, because we really don't hear much from the CEO of Digital Extremes. Like, we hear a lot from the Warframe team, and we hear a lot from Steve and like the Soulframe team. So maybe this was just kind of him making it kind of official at this point, that he's kind of been the official face of DE for a while now.
Yeah.
Being that he's
No,
been the
that's
successor.
likely what he's trying to do on that front, is make him the actual proper successor.
Possibly, because
Yeah.
again, their most recent success in the last decade or so is attributed to Steve's work, and as well as the rest of the Warframe team. So I'm not surprised when you think about it. He also, interestingly enough, the CEO, the old one anyway, James, shows up in the NoClip documentary as well, doing kind of commenting on the state of things. But yeah, it always seems like he was very hands-off when it came to how he directed DE. Like, you don't really hear much from him when it comes to like overarching decisions in the company.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like someone like Activision Blizzard, where Bobby Kotick for some reason seems to appear in any kind of big decision. Like, most of Activision Blizzard's scumminess is attributed to him, comparative to like this CEO that you basically never hear about him. Like, I don't think I've heard about him in conversation like once ever, honestly. So again, it might just be him being like, hey, you've kind of always been the face of DE for like the last 5 years at least already. Just take the job and I'll just retire. But again, he's keeping his place on the board, so he's still making some money. So it's not like he's completely stepping off the boat, so to speak.
No, he's not like throwing it and saying, all right, I'm 100% done. He's just kind of changing the position he holds.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if I were in his position, I'd probably do the same thing too. Like, make it official, but still keep a hand in the company so you can still make money off the company. It's not like he's like, as we would probably say when I was taking entrepreneurship while I was in that semester while I'm in college, is basically there's two ways to kind of retire from a company, like, completely. And that is to sell it to someone else and wash your hands effectively, or to liquidate it. Basically say, we're selling everything off, we're selling everything, you guys can go, pension, severance, whatever, and then we're just dissolving everything. That's like the two big ways of dissolving, or like, or what would officially be called cashing out of a company. So it's not like he's completely cashing out of a company, he's still keeping, well, Number one, can you imagine if like tomorrow they're like, "Yep, Digital Extremes is done. No more Warframe. Soulframe is alive. We're not making it anymore.
We're done. It's over.
I mean, considering Tencent is their parent company now, or has a major hand in their parent company, I doubt they'd let them do that. No, we want the money. You cannot. You cannot close. We're not allowing it.
We're not closing this way. Turn back.
Turn back. Yeah, you just hear freaking. Not Gandalf, but you just hear turn back.
You will turn back.
But anyways, again, it is interesting to hear though. So yeah, that's kind of the state of affairs. Shorter video today, I know. Or at least what, probably 30 minutes already. I say shorter, but we still.
No, we're not at 30.
No, what are we at?
We are at 21.
No, I really need to like have a timer somewhere one of these days. But whatever. Anyways, I'll let you all go before I start rambling. But yeah, that's kind of the current situation. Let us know in the comment section. What do you think about Digital Extreme's kind of shakeup? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think we should be cautiously optimistic? I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about Steve taking over. Again, I judge on results. He's proven himself during his leading of Warframe, from what he led of what his brief time leading and continuing to lead Soulframe will be. Again, it's not like he hasn't proven himself. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but again, I've heard some people say that his ambition might be a bit of a cause for concern, but we'll see. So yeah,
Yeah.
let us know. What do you think in the comments? And also, let me know. Did you guys know that apparently Tencent had a hand in their parent company? I honestly did not know. I guess as the old saying is true. The most powerful people are the ones you've never heard about. But, yeah. Unless you have any closing thoughts on the matter, Justin.
No. We'll see where Digital Extremes goes with. Well, we'll see what the CEO goes with his project, and see where Digital Extremes has their management lies, and what their new priorities will be because of it.
Honestly, I don't think much will change if I'm being
Probably
honest.
not. Probably not.
I just probably think they might give more resources. But then again, I don't know. I honestly don't know how much influence Steve had on the greater overarching running of Digital Extremes prior to this. Like, that is a question one should ask. Like, prior to this, how much influence did he have before compared to now? Like, is it just one of those, now your job is officially CEO and he always kind of secretly had some greater level of influence already? Or was it quite literally the major promotion? He has said that it is a big challenge to run the creative side as well as the company at the same time, which, no kidding. But
Yes.
we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of where we stand with DE. I'm cautiously optimistic. And
Cautiously
yeah,
optimistic.
see you all next week, I suppose.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye bye.